All right, good evening. We still have about 45 seconds left before we officially start. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
If you would, go ahead and place your name and your campus in the chat. Good evening again. Go ahead and place your name and your campus in the chat. We'll give you all a minute or two to get that done. Your name and your campus in the chat. Good evening to everyone. For those that are just coming in, go ahead and place your name and your campus in the chat. And we will go ahead and get started here. Let me get our agenda pulled up. Welcome to everyone. Welcome. Right. I let this other students in real quick here. I'll share our agenda. How is everyone doing this evening? Okay, I see heads nodding. So
Pretty good.
Great. All right. So the first thing we'll do is if you would go ahead and place your name and your campus in the chat. I'm going to pull up our agenda. And it's not a long agenda, but it will take us through to our time here together tonight. I see this little thing that's popping up saying storms in the area. I'm not sure where my computer is located, where it has me listed at, but I don't really think the weather's bad. How's the weather in your area? Everybody's weather's okay. We do know that that's a factor, and we'll talk about that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Horrible weather.
Okay, so it's bad weather somewhere. All of us are faced with it here and there. Right, so here's our agenda. Share screen. Wait. There we go. So you should have typed your name and your campus in the chat by now, and that's with every session, no matter whose sessions you're in. Even if we are doing a review session, just get it in a habit. Even if we don't prompt you to do that, just go ahead and place your name and your campus in the chat. The sessions are recorded. It's expected for your cameras to be on. Even if you have to walk away from your desk or wherever you're sitting at for a few minutes, just put a message in the chat to myself or whomever the instructor is about what is that the reason why you're walking away from the camera. Cameras are to remain on at all times. And I just like to make everyone aware that these sessions are recorded and they are reviewed by the attendance. They go through the minutes. Zoom timestamps everything. And this is not new information for you, but we do have to remind you of it. It is timestamped. Whatever time we think we logged in, Zoom automatically logs you in, and it's timestamped with the time that you came in, the time that you left. So just ensure that you set your calendars, your clocks or whatever timepieces you're using, because as we'll talk about it as we go through the orientation PowerPoint, 1 minute to that 30 minutes equals 15 minutes minus. So that was actually started just last term, but so we're still trying to get accustomed to that, but it is real and it is a factor. So we'll talk about that. So type your name and your campus in the chat. So the recordings are reviewed by the attendance coordinator as well as the chat. So make sure you type your name and your campus there. And also on the screen, make sure you have your legal first and last name. I know sometimes if we're on Zoom with for different reasons, we might have our last name or first name. We might even have a nickname or something. But this is a professional setting, so make sure you have your first and your last name. However you're listed on Fortis's, however you're listed in their system. So ensure that you're using the correct last name. Sometimes we run into that, but the last names are different from what Fortis has inside of their system. So make sure you have that correct. So we'll go over the PowerPoint, then we'll look at the syllabus and then the individual modules. And you do know you have a group project, so we'll let you all get into your groups and exchange information so we can plan for that so that we can have the best outcomes as possible. Okay, so let me stop sharing this. I'll pull up the orientation PowerPoint and we will go over it. Well, I'm going to introduce myself. Sorry. I'm trying to mute some of you out because we hear the least little thing that's going on in the background. So I'm making sure everyone is mute. And I'm not sure why it does that, but sometimes it'll come off mute. And sometimes it'll mute you when you're not trying to mute yourself. So I'm Dr. Morton Ford, Shalisha Morton Ford. Just a little history. I've been with Fortis now for a year. I've had long-term experience, long-term care. So that's like the nursing home, in the various settings and occupations there, from assistant to the DOE and all the way to, assistant on the floor. If we're short, well, we can't say that word, but if we need other staff, I mean, we do what we have to do. MBS coordinator, discharge coordinator, whatever those hats were there, long-term care. And this is not necessarily in this order that I'm calling out, just how I'm remembering it. Nurse civilian for the Air Force. You have your military side, but then you have civilians that work also for the military. So I was a civilian nurse for the Air Force. Clinical adjunct, lab simulation adjunct, ICU nurse, medical ICU nurse, health advocate. That's just something I just do on the side. And currently I do have like this thing where I do like these announcements, and it's not new information, but I just make sure it's broken down so that people can understand it and pretty much take away from hearing it to actually create some steps and things that they can do. So right now it's on the radio. So I do these little segments on the radio, and I call it I'm a health advocate. It's just something I just do just in my spare time. And also with that, I have this sister and brother network, and my focus is on breast cancer survivors. And so we had like a big event this past October where, people donated, they came out, we joined these people at the park, and we had our little table set up and people came by. And from that, over the past year, I've been in contact with the participants. It's all voluntary. And each person, whatever they need is what they need. If it's a conversation, if it's going to the grocery store. And so we took up donations, and the donations were for the participants to have a makeover. So we've had the makeover. And one of the participants, she actually was a 2-time survivor. And she was like our spokesperson for the group, our main speaker for that day for the makeover. And so since then, and she didn't traditionally find out, her story was she didn't traditionally find out that she had breast cancer the traditional way. It was just something kind of like haphazardly. And so since then, she's a young lady, maybe 30-ish, 2-time survivor, but recently she's found out that it has come back, but now it's in her spine. And so we're just, supporting her in whatever resources that we can provide for her. We're doing that. And then currently, I'm a clinical nurse researcher. Our focus is heart, lung, and blood disorders and sleep disorders. Our project is funded by the National Institute of Health. We do travel through different states, and we do all these exams and gather all of this information. And we just do different things within the project. So that's just a little bit about myself. Oh, I forgot to mention also on my downtime, I've actually picked almost a bushel of purple whole peas. If you don't know what that is, and I've gotten some squash, a whole little basket of squash. So we're eating. I'm a farmer too on the side, nothing big, but just something on my little downtime. All right, so let's move on to the PowerPoint. And I know you all have, for the most part, it's the same PowerPoint throughout, but we do have to go over it for the record's sake and just to ensure that we're all on the same page. Let me do the slideshow from the beginning. All right, here we go. Welcome to your online nursing course. This is community. So what is online learning? It is essentially the same as being in brick and mortar. It is just that we do not meet, any in person. We meet in person, but it's virtual in person. And so it is still a professional setting, and we do have to keep all of that in mind. So you want to ensure that we are being respectful. We're turning our homework assignments. We're completing assignments on time. We do have like a different meeting time. Like we meet that one day a week. You can't just stop by the office per se, knock on the door and come in. We do have online office hours. So it's sort of kind of the same. So it is an adjustment because if you're on campus, you can just knock and show up at your professor's door and come in. Now you can essentially do that if you text or call us, but it's just a little different. So online learning means we're using our computers and the internet to access your educational program. Students are responsible to complete the required coursework every week. You will meet students from other Fortis locations in your course. So you're not just, everyone's in here is from someplace different. So some of you all are at the same campus. For the most part, you all are at various campuses. The online instructor provides students guidance and leads the learning activities. The instructor provides feedback to the students about your progress. Uh-oh. Okay, let me go back. Yes, okay. So who to contact? You want to, no matter how big or small the issue is, because you just never know in the end, whatever the issue or concern is, what it will actually lead to. So, but start with the instructor. And this is for all of your courses. Start with the instructor. And then if it's something that you and I both deem that, hey, we need to bring someone else in on it, we'll actually add your campus dean, Dean Brown, the online dean, and then the course lead. The course lead for this course is Dr. Lundy. And then, of course, everyone knows Dean Brown. And then it would be your campus dean. We also might have to communicate or contact them or bring them in on whatever it is that we're talking about. But start that communication about whatever the concern is and start early on. For example, you're at campus and I don't know, you had an issue with, they put a boot on your car because you parked in the wrong parking lot or spot. And it's only going to take the person, the maid meter, a few minutes to get the boot off, but then it's putting you behind. Go ahead and start communicating that, because as we know, everything matters. Everything matters. That 1 minute late equals 15 minutes off your attendance time. So communicate. And then my email is available in the course up under info about my course instructor, as well as my phone number. It is there. So start with me. So this is kind of repetitive from the previous slide. I'm your first contact. I am available via email, the campus messaging system, and also by phone. Can suggest ways you can improve your performance in your online courses. And I already had posted some meeting times, like one-on-one, and those times are not just for, reviewing your exam, but if that's what you need it for, that's that. But sometimes you just need to talk about your performance, some things about how to reorganize your calendar or some challenges that you're facing or will be facing. So, and we can just talk about, those things as well. I'll provide you feedback on that, may identify some resources that might help. The online course is a professional setting. Communication is always to be respectful. Even if you disagree, let's keep it respectful. Communication etiquette. State your thoughts in a courteous, positive, and respectful manner. Be mindful of how you express humorous or emotional statements. This can sometimes be misinterpreted. You might not mean anything bad, so just kind of shy away from or stay away from, making jokes about things, because it can be misinterpreted. The intent was not to cause any harm. Just kind of stay away from that, because remember, we are in a professional setting. And so let's just kind of keep our conversations along those lines. Keep your comments relevant to whatever the discussion topic is. Be considerate of others' experiences and feelings and their perspectives. We don't have to agree, but we can be respectful to that. Use proper language and titles, and try not to use slang. Do not type your messages in all caps. We all know about all caps. It is supposed to be like you're screaming at someone, so be careful with that. Okay, the online course schedule and attendance. As I said when we first came on, as a reminder, these sessions are recorded and they are reviewed by the online administrators. Keep your cameras on at all times. In the event that you have to walk away from the camera, or even if you have to log off, just put something in the chat, to me, because that way you have some information and documentation as what was going on. The online courses have a specific start and end time. Everything is due in Pacific time. I know you're like all these different time zones. Please note the time zone you are compared to Pacific time. Like I'm in Central time. Most of you all, I think, are in Eastern time, but they're different time zones, but they have the online course set up in Pacific time. Your classes are scheduled on a specific day with a start and an end time. So our time is, I know it's 5 o'clock my time, but it's 6 your time, 6 to 7:30. So that means we'll go from 5 to 6:30 my time, which will be 6 to 7:30 your time, because we'll take our break at the end. I think we can push through and just do the break at the end. But again, if you need to walk away from the camera to use the restroom, to just do something real quick, leave your camera on. There's no need to log off. Just place it, a message in the chat. The mandatory live sessions, the sessions are mandatory every week. There are sometimes if you have a course on a Monday, and I think, no, it will not affect us this term because we end in September. So if you have courses on Monday, as the closer we get to Labor Day, because I don't think we have any other major holidays that are observed, but sometimes campuses do observe different holidays where other campuses do not. You will receive guidance from Dean Brown. She'll tell you and all of us, is what to do to make up for that class not being open on that day. But otherwise, whatever day your class is, today is Wednesday, so just plan to be here every Wednesday. It is mandatory. In the event that you are not here, that time will go in, and we'll talk about that in a couple of more slides, where you will actually receive an attendance warning, and then those minutes add up. In the event that you have so many minutes absent, it can negatively affect your grade. So we'll talk about that here in a few more slides. Course activities can include discussion, questions, projects, papers, case studies, quizzes, jam boards. Did I say case studies? Yeah, case studies. We like those. You all kind of like those as well. And where everything is training to this next gen, using your clinical judgment. So we like to mix it up, and also because people have different learning styles. And we do know that taking care of a patient, they're so, just because they have a room of diabetics, that means that each diabetic is going to be the same. So we like to mix up the activities, so no matter what setting or situation you land in, you can provide the best care. This discussion boards require initial posts by midnight Wednesday, with responses to 2 peers by midnight on Sunday. Due dates are according to the syllabus week and posted in the course shells. Essentially, everything your post on that Wednesday, and then that following Sunday, your 2 responses. But just remember that the course shell is set up on Pacific time. And then I am in Central Standard Time Zone too. Late work policy, submit all work on time. Go ahead and get your calendar out, whether it's paper, whether if you have an electronic calendar, if you're like me, you have both, and then you still have your sticky notes so that we can get everything done in a timely manner. Submit on time. Late work is only accepted only with prior approval from the instructor. You have to contact the instructor if you're going to be late. But keep in mind that usually the course lead and Dean Brown, they're brought in on the late work, and usually there's documentation that's required to support it. Also keep in mind, late policy will be followed, which includes if the work is 1 to 7 days late, it will result in a 10% deduction. 8 days or more will result in a 0 for the assignment. So go ahead and plan, set your a reminder on your calendar or however you do it paper-wise or electronic so that you can populate all your things. For the most part, you all are in several courses. You have several things that are due throughout the week. You have work, you have family. So just go ahead and just try to, pre-plan for these things. Let's see, attendance online in courses. Let's see, attendance will only be recorded during your assigned live session times. And so in the event that, I think they use that alternate time. For example, if we don't meet on a Wednesday because it's a holiday, which I think never happened because most holidays usually other than the 4th, it floats around and Christmas floats around throughout the week. They'll give instructions and sometimes they'll give you, you'll be marked absent for the class, but then we have to do like an attendance correction form, which shows, well, hey, this was a holiday and the student attended another course or the student completed the alternate assignment that took the place of that. But let me just read through this slide right here so that we'll make an informed decision about whatever it is that you need to do. Attendance will be only recorded during your assigned live session time. Attendance is taken by the instructor during the live session. To be counted present in the class, students must sign in with their full name, ensure that it's the name that you that you have inside of Fortis' system. We've had a few last names, sometimes it doesn't match up. Be on camera the whole time, camera not pointed toward the ceiling. Anyone at work or driving will be removed from the session. Let me just go back to be on camera the entire time and camera not pointed toward the ceiling. So, we're in class and we're doing things, moving and shaking. And so if your camera ends up, pointed towards the ceiling, and so the answer is not, oh, well, she didn't tell me that my camera was pointing toward the ceiling. It is your responsibility to ensure that, you can see that your camera is positioned so that it is in the correct position so that we can see you. I'm even doing exams. You want to make sure that and we're going to talk about that too in a slide here in a moment. Make sure that your camera is in that correct view and doing the entire exam. Now, some people have their cameras set on something where it moves or do something. I'm not really sure. I'm not tech savvy on that. And so just make sure that you have your camera positioned correctly. You don't have any pre-settings that will mess up or have it in a different view. So just check that. All right. Anyone at work or driving will be removed from the session. You might have just gotten off work and they have like a room or conference room for you to go in, but you can't be at work at the nurse's station or whatever it is, whatever setting that you work in, actually performing activities, your job duties and, tuned in class. No, you have to be in a dedicated space. Now, sometimes you all have a class or you're at the campus for a lab or for whatever reason. And, you have a course that starts in an hour and you live maybe like 30, 45 minutes away and you don't want to run the risk of getting stuck in traffic or something happening. So for the most part, the schools have those quiet rooms or they have dedicated space for you to sit and you can attend class there on campus, even though it is online. So just check that out. Anyone not coming on camera after being asked to will be removed from the session. So I've announced it at the beginning of the course when we initially started tonight. Cameras must be on. In the event that you have to walk away, camera should still remain on. If one's adults, we let you make an informed decision. So I just want to make you aware of what their requirements are. Faculty will verify students' time in class while reviewing the login and logout times on Zoom. As I mentioned earlier, Zoom timestamps everything. You say, hey, I was in the waiting room at on time, but it timestamps everything. Waiting room, entry time, it's all timestamped. There's nothing that can go in and adjust, or anyone can go in and adjust. It is what it is. So those reports are uploaded and shared. So just as a reminder. But sometimes we all run late and we just have to, just chalk it up to, hey, we're just late. Attendance missed will be recorded in 15-minute increments. So what does that mean? If your class starts at 8 o'clock and you show up at 8:01, if you show up at 8:05, that is 15 minutes minus the time for your attendance. So this is a 100-minute class. So that'd be 15 minutes minus 100. If you show up at 8:33, then that would be 30 minutes. So just know that, and there's another slide that kind of goes in more detail here in just a few minutes. In the event that you end up with so many minutes absent during the class time, then you will receive the attendance warning. And then the attendance does affect your grade. Anyone without posting attendance, 14 days in a row will be dropped without notification. So what that means is if we're in class for 2 weeks and you do not post, you don't respond to a discussion, you're not responding to your peers, you're not turning in your assignments, that means you're not in attendance, because there are things that you should be going in, clicking and submitting every week. And so in the event that there's 14 days that you do not make a post in there, you'll be automatically dropped from the course without notification. I said there's a whole staff for attendance, so that's what they keep up with. All right, trying to get my slide to change here. Attendance is taken daily in class by the instructor and turned over to the registrar's office before the end of the class day. Early departures, tardies, and class cuts will be recorded in the quarter-hour increments. A period of less than 15 minutes will be counted as a quarter-hour absence. Attendance records are maintained by the registrar as part of the student's permanent academic record. It's there, it does not disappear. Students with chronic absenteeism in excess of 20% of the scheduled hours for a course may receive a failing or reduced grade for the course. So that is the policy. So just be mindful, like I say, just think it through. If you're working just before a course, it might necessarily be this one. You might want to ask your supervisor or the manager or the administrator, whomever, can you have a space? Because if you're not going to make it home or wherever you go to log in time, consistently, if you're 1 minute late, that 15 minutes is adding up. So have that conversation with your manager, your supervisor, whomever that is. If you're on campus for a prior course, just before the course, and you tend to pushing it close, just go ahead and have the conversation to schedule, you a quiet room or a space or someplace that you can sit quietly, so that you won't get those minutes taken off for being 1 minute late. It is their policy, and so we have to abide by their policies. Students who are absent more than 20% of the scheduled time will receive a full letter grade deduction. This is real. Those 15 minutes from being absent or being late, 1 minute, 2 minutes, it adds up. So I'm gonna read this again. Students who are absent more than 20% of the scheduled time, and 20% is not a lot, that's not a lot of time, will receive a full letter grade deduction at the end of the term. So if you have an A, that puts you down to a B. If you have a B, that puts you down to a C, and so forth and so forth. The online office will pull attendance weekly. And what they do is they actually send you a letter informing you of, hey, this is what is showing up, and this is where you stand. A student who is at 5% of scheduled time absent will receive an email through your campus view notifying you of such. A student who is at 10% scheduled time absent will be required to meet with Dean Brown and myself A student who is at 15% of scheduled time absent will be required to meet with Dean Brown and the campus administration. Because then at that point, you're close to that 20%. And, hopefully we don't get to that, but let's just go ahead and think things through. Think about what you have to do and, so that you can pre-plan and get that all situated. The level of intervention will be reliant upon the amount of time missed, and a student may not receive all levels of warning prior to missing the 20%. So it is your responsibility to still keep up with, hey, week one, I logged in at 1 minute after, that's 15 minutes. So it's still on you to keep up with your time and then to know when you reach that 20% mark. But they have been doing pretty good about sending out those warnings. But still, it is upon you to remember to keep up with that, because you might not receive a warning prior to missing the 20%. So let's talk about what can we do to be successful. Review your work that is due each week. Usually at the beginning of the week, we will send out a little announcement that says, hey, this is what's due for this week. Because you have everything on your syllabus. You have everything in your modules. But that announcement weekly helps you narrow your focus, get yourself together, and kind of pre-plan what you're going to do, what day and when. Review work that is due each week. Complete the reading assignments each week. So the reading assignments helps you to be able to interact in class, also be able to apply what you know when you're taking the exams. You do have 3 unit exams, and we'll talk about that here shortly. So those reading assignments, they help you to get a better understanding of the concepts. You want to complete the interactive lessons each week, attend live sessions weekly to get a better understanding, which we already mentioned, those are mandatory. Carefully read the directions and the rubrics to all assignments before starting. So read that rubric and before and after, what you can do before you turn your assignment in, all the way down to the discussion question. Look at the rubric, grade your own work. The rubric will say, list 3, and this is just an example, needs 5 sentences about apples, 3 sentences about bananas. And you can look at your work and say, oh, do I have 5 sentences about apples? No, I don't. So I'm not going to get all my points for that. Do I have 3 sentences about bananas? Yeah, I have all, so I'll get my points for that. So the rubrics are your friend. That's your guide to completing your assignments. Complete all assignments, papers, in-class clinical skills, assignments, in-class questions, discussion boards. Complete all. Because remember, there is no leeway for extra credit, even if there's a half a point that's needed, even if there's less than that that's needed, even if 10 points are needed. All the assignments, complete them, because everything matters. Come into class on time. Everything matters. For those in-class questions, as you know, I think it's been changed to, we still have in-class questions in this course. But let me see. I think, did we take those out? We'll look at the syllabus here in a moment. But with those, if we do, you can take those as many times as you can. You submit the highest score. Complete all exams. Study and complete all exams. We only have 3 exams during this course. Stay connected. Stay connected with me. Don't be afraid of your instructor. I assure you, if I don't have the answer, we'll identify a resource or a person that can assist us in solving the problem or giving us some solutions that you might decide to use. But yeah, stay connected, whether it's through a text message and email via Canvas email or the outside email, the other Fortis email. Just stay connected. Have a reliable internet connection and computer and laptop. As I mentioned, let me jump back to point number 1. As I mentioned earlier, that I do have the office hours and I do have the time where you can sign up for like the one-on-one. And remember, those don't have to be via Zoom. It could be you sign up and we can just talk on the phone. It could be via Zoom. It could be just a talk session about just getting your calendar straight. It could be a one-on-one about the content. So don't be afraid to try to connect with the instructor. Having that reliable internet. I know last time we did run into a couple of issues where we were having all this bad weather, so the storms. And so I think we kind of might be okay for these next couple of months. But Identify a reliable internet. I know it's trying to storm. I'll log in too with on my phone just in case my main Zoom goes down that I still have you all on the phone. Because we can't control the weather, but for the most part, just make sure that you have a good computer, laptop, and these things. I don't think they give us a warning when they go out, but just make sure you just kind of keep it stored in the appropriate temperatures. Try not to leave it in your cars, because that heat it negatively negatively impacts your computer. It's melting the parts that are in the inside. So be careful with that when you're having your computer in your bag and you're leaving it in the car, those extreme temperatures. You want to maintain a schedule for completing your work. Identify a quiet place free from distractions to complete work. Even if you want to identify this place, but sometimes you have to get up and just go see what's going on in the house, but then come back to your quiet place. So it really does help. Read all assignment directions carefully, because understanding what is required will help you ease through the assignment. Log into class 4 to 5 times a week to stay connected and engaged, because remember, you're logging in anyways. If you have discussion questions to make your initial post, then you have your 2 other posts. Then you want to check in to see have they been graded. You want to check in to see if we have posted anything, any announcements. So just click in all your courses. Just click inside of them just to make sure that you're staying in the know. Review course announcements at least weekly. Submit all assignments on the week that they are due, including discussions, because you don't want that 10% deduction. Because at the end of the day, all points, they do matter. No extra credit is awarded. It's not in the framework of the class. Towards the end of each week, review assignments for the next week. So just kind of go ahead and be looking, I've completed these assignments for this week. What's next week? So I can go ahead and start arranging my schedule. And I'm the first to tell you about that friend that's not a real friend. Good old procrastinator, not your friend. I tried it. Doesn't work. So let's just go ahead and pre-plan. And for the most part, you'll get everything done in a timely manner. We all run into some snags here and there, but for the most part, let's pre-plan and let's get everything turned in on time. It's trying to move us out of the way, you all. And I clicked this file. Let me go back. Okay, getting started to the key to success. Okay, day 1 of the term, you should have logged in into Canvas by now and completed all of those. The syllabus quiz. You should have checked your book to make sure it works. And if your book did not work, make sure you send a help ticket so that they can assist you with claiming that access code. And they're pretty quick. They really are good. The resources that Fortis uses with ExamSoft, with the ebooks, even with CJ Sim, that new resource that we're using, the help people, the help desk, they're really, really timely about getting back with you and resolving your issue. So by now you should have opened up your course. You should have my information there. You want to print or save the syllabus because you might want to refer to it at different times. And confirm that you have the correct textbook edition. Because there's a few instances where there have been older editions, and I'm not sure what happened. Sometimes for some reason the student had access to the incorrect edition, and it was just a matter of submitting the help desk ticket, notifying the ebook person or people, and it was corrected. So just make sure you have the correct edition. Come to class prepared to discuss the topics and the concepts. So we will have our case studies and things. So you will have, in order to answer the case studies and be interactive with the Jamboards and the Kahoots, you have to know some information. So even though your class doesn't meet again to next week, go ahead and be looking at that information, the reading assignments, so that you will be able to ask your questions when you come to class. And be on the other side, be able to answer and contribute. Attend additional review sessions offered by the faculty. We will be posting the exam review sessions And for those, they're not mandatory, and you can attend any instructor's review sessions. What we have done in the past is also shared the links to the recordings of the review sessions. But it is encouraged that you attend the live review session of at least one of the professors. Meet with the faculty to discuss those difficult concepts during our office hours. And also, I've also posted some additional times. And if those do not work, you know, let's communicate and see what is an appropriate time for us. Scheduling tutoring sessions when needed, please do so. If you're having technical difficulties logging in, please contact the technical support. Submit a help ticket. Weekly review sessions, not mandatory, but highly encouraged. Sessions held outside of class time by all instructors, encouraged to attend review sessions of other instructors. This is essentially what I just said. And also, when you attend those live review sessions, make sure that you type in your name and your campus, because those sessions are recorded and the attendance is also sent to the attendance registrar. So make sure that you are doing that. So studies have found students that participate actively in these two interventions, that one-on-one tutoring and also meeting with the instructor or going to the live review sessions, tend to have a higher testing score. So much so as 20 points higher. That's what studies have shown, our studies inside of Fortis. So it has shown this and for the most part, just reviewing those concepts, that repetitiveness, it ensures, even if you're not trying to learn something, if you just hear something or see something or read something so many times, I want to say, was it 67 times? There's actually a study out there about it, that you automatically just, it's just on your brain space, that you know that. So, but as much as 20 points higher. All right, so your grading components. Remember your KGAs count as 80% of the assignment. So it's a bulk of what your grades is coming from your KGA, which the KGA has to be 78%. But out of 100, most of your grade comes from your KGA, your key graded assignments. Those are your unit exams and that specialty exam. So you have 3 unit exams, and then you have the HESI at the end. That's 80%. 80% has to be at least 78% before your homework assignments, your vulnerable populations assignment, and all of your other assignments count. Now, halfway through, we do turn, and that's on the slide here coming up. So let me just stick to this slide. 80%, so you have 100% of work. The most of that work comes from, where 80% of it comes from your 3 unit exams and your 1 HESI. That must equal 78% grade-wise. Then the rest of your assignments come from, the 20% comes from discussion questions, the CJ simulation assignments. That must still equal 78% also. So everything matters. So week 1 through 5, homework scores will be turned off. So you'll just see that. Week 6, we turn on homework scores. So you can see what your grade looks like with the homework scores. But keep in mind, both must equal at least 78% before you're considered as mastering the class. So if you have a 75% with your unit exam and your HESI, but then if we turn on homework grades and it pushes you up to a 78, doesn't count. You have to have 78% for both. Because when you turn on the homework grades, it's like, oh, my grade did this, it did that. But then we turn it back off, oh, my grade did this and did that. But remember, both must equal 78%. Sometimes we get a little mixed up. It seems like that students get a little mixed up with that when we turn those on and off. But just keep in mind, you must have a 78% before it is considered that you have mastered the course, the content And here it is right here. Your combined score on all unit exams and the specialty exam in the course must be 78% or above before any credit for completed homework is given. A minimum passing grade of 78% is required for successful completion of the course after the homework scores are added in. So exams will be scheduled and given through ExamSoft. So here, I think probably more than likely next week, ExamSoft, our courses will be uploaded in there, and we will ask you to go in and to complete a practice exam. It's not on content. It is to ensure that you're all set, that you have the latest software updates on your computer, because on exam day, you do not want the stress of logging into ExamSoft. You can't download the exam and you can't take the exam. So we put that practice exam out there to ensure that you have worked through all the kinks. Because there are sometimes, you know, ExamSoft have its own little requirements. Sometimes your it like what your camera settings are set on, and you'll have to go in and fix that before it lets you move on. So when we send out the announcement about the practice exam, make sure you go in and go through it so you can make sure that your computer is set up. The other thing is, if you were in different courses or sections, make sure in ExamSoft that it has the correct courses for you. This is for all of your courses, because every now and then, that happens very often, where ExamSoft will have you in a different section. And that will prevent you from, it may say 206, but if the section is not correct, when ExamSoft gives me the code, the exam code to give to you, you will not be able to, that exam code will not work. So you can't take that exam, and then there will be a delay in trying to get you, ExamSoft putting you in the correct course. So go through the practice exam, because on exam day, you want to be focused on taking that exam and excelling and not working on troubleshooting things. And I said that happened often, but those are some things that we've run into with ExamSoft. So log into ExamSoft through the Canvas portal, sign in according to your ExamSoft instructions, read the exam description carefully so you know the requirements. Begin the exam when you're ready. When you're finished, click save and upload. And there's a little delay there. You all type in the chat, I'm finished with my exam. But if you look at your screen, it has not, it's still grayed out. I think that's the color. Usually when it has completed uploaded, there's a check mark. So there's just a slight minute or two before the exam has to spin, go through the spin cycle, and then completely upload. Once you submit your exam, you will see a confirmation screen. That's when you will get that check mark. And then you can log out of that testing site. You are only allowed one attempt. You cannot stop and pause and resume. If you're having technical difficulty, stop the exam and notify the instructor. This is for whatever class that you are in. Stop and notify the instructor. Do not take the entire exam and say, hey, oh, I was having technical difficulties. Who did you tell? You didn't tell anyone. So there is going to be a discussion, a discussion, a discussion. So if you're having issues, notify the instructor when you're at that moment in time. The exams are timed, so be sure that you pay attention to the time that you're using. Anyone with accommodations needs to notify the professor at the beginning of each term. Just because you had accommodations last terms, do not know, it does not mean that we know about it. And also just make sure that your accommodations are what they should be. You want to ensure that, because sometimes your accommodations might need to change. So just make sure that everyone knows what we need to know, because if you do require accommodations, we need to provide the accommodations. So it's not that we don't want to provide them, we don't know. So make sure we know and ensure that their accommodations are what they should be, so that you know that you have all the resources that you need, so that you can do your best. Notifications less than 10 days before an exam may not be able to be granted in time. There's a process that must be followed. Exams are held during the scheduled class time. Exceptions only with written approval by the faculty and copy to the National Online Dean, which is Dean Brown. So there are sometimes that you might, and as I mentioned earlier about, you have a class on campus or you're doing something on campus that day. You might have a lab or a clinical, and it might be better for you to just stay on campus to take the exam. The exam has to be proctored, just like online. I have to be there, proctor the exam online as well. So the thing about the on-campus proctoring, we do have to get all of that approved. We have to have someone, we have to have a space. So look at your calendar again. Look at where you're going to be and where you're going to be, when, and all of that. And in the event that you think, well, hey, for exam 2, I think I need to take this exam on campus. Let's go ahead and have the conversation so we can send the information to the appropriate people so that plans can be made. That's not a problem. So exams can only be proctored with the faculty on campus with a 72-hour notice. And like I say, and the reason being is because we got to make sure that someone is there, and then that the space that they use, that it is not being used by someone else. It's not that you can't, it's just that certain things have to be done and planned for. Exams are Zoom proctored. You must be on camera the entire time. You should show your photo ID. I know a lot of students, sometimes, I don't know what happens to those IDs in between terms, but if you need to get your ID, put that on your to-do list. Go ahead and get that ID because you're going to need your ID, your school ID. So go ahead and get that. If you do not have it, get you another one. And if you have one, go ahead and find it so that it's in place and on you, on person. You must show your testing environment. We are encouraging a dry erase board. So that dry erase board, you like, oh, we only have 5 math problems. Why do I need a board? But sometimes you need that board just to doodle, just to write down your notes or your thoughts. So go ahead and invest in one of those. So no personal calculator can be used. You will use the exam soft calculator available through the exam. Missed exams will be held to the late work policies. Exam missed without prior notice will result in a 0. Exam missed for personal reasons will result in a late penalty with notification. You do have to have documentation as to what the reason and supportive data. Exams missed due to emergency will require documentation of the emergency. This documentation must be submitted to Dean Brown. Notification must occur within 24 hours of the scheduled exam. Documentation must be presented prior to the exam being rescheduled. Any exam not rescheduled within 7 days of the class time will result in a 0. Contact myself with issues that may prevent you from being successful on the exam before the exam. You have, I don't know, something comes up on the day of the exam, before the day of the exam, that, I don't know, something, you have to go to court. There's a funeral, there's something. Go ahead and let's start communicating that, and just know that you have to provide that documentation. I want you to be successful. And it's going to require communication because we do know life happens to all of us. So contact your instructor if you have any problems or if you would just like some additional help. I've said that several times. Homework assignments, plan your time. We're going to look at the syllabi here in a few so we can look at the different dates and things. So this is just showing you how and your work is, people look at different things in different ways. So your syllabus has your information listed here on the left. And you might want to pull that stuff to a calendar on your phone or your computer or extra paper calendar and just write it all out, because then it makes more sense to you and you're able to follow. I have this due on this day. I got to do my first response to discussion this day, so that you can help map it out, plan and organize. Late work would not be accepted without prior approval from the instructor. If the instructor approves the submission of late work, points will be deducted for the assignment as follows, which we just talked about that. 1 through 7 calendar days after the due date equals 10%. 8 or more is 0%. Late work would not be accepted without prior approval. NCLEX questions from Saunders comprehensive review for the NCLEX RN examination. And it's there to prepare you. Studies have shown that, I can't remember the exact number, but if a person just reviews those questions, not only as they're assigned in your courses, but if you just do that anyways, like every week, review so many, because you have access to that NCLEX book. Review so many of those questions per week, and I can't remember the exact number. There's information out there. Complete the questions, and completing the question means actually reading the question, selecting an answer, and also reviewing if you got the question correct or incorrect. Looking at the rationales for the answer choices. That's reviewing and taking an NCLEX question. All of that should be done for each question. If you do that, and I can't remember the exact number, within a time frame, you're pretty much guaranteed to pass that, the HESI and also the NCLEX with one sitting. And this is just saying follow the instruction here. Select the link and then open and follow all the instructions. The questions to the essay change. The questions change each time. Open and follow all the instructions. The questions change each time. They change each time. And then it gives you like a printout, a PDF. So make sure that you're printing the results and not creating something on your own. Make sure that you are not just sending in screenshots of it. I know that snippet tool is there, but don't use it. Submit the PDF, and whatever grade that you have there, that's the grade that you get. In-class questions, once submitted, the score you submit is the score that you'll receive. You can repeat the questions as many times as you like to obtain the highest score. Screenshots are not acceptable. If you submit the required 50 questions and have 40 correct, you will receive the 40 points or 80%. There is no bonus points for getting most correct. It is whatever that score is, that's what you get. Again, screenshots are not acceptable. And ensure that you're just downloading the PDF and that's what you're uploading. Now, CJ-SIM or CJ Simulation Nurse Think, this will support the development of application of knowledge acquired to take the specialty exam in your boards. It's helping you with that clinical judgment. This is a new resource. And so have you all actually logged inside of your CJ-SIM? Have you looked at it? I don't see any heads going up and down. No. Yes, CJ-SIM is a new resource and it's in your modules, is part of your homework, but it helps you, it supports the development and using that clinical judgment. It's a new resource. It looks like it's going to be pretty good. So review and follow instructions. So right here, you want to actually click the link that's inside. You want to open the CJ-SIM assignment. And it usually doesn't take any more than like 20 minutes to complete it. And it has like real people in there. Well, you know, of course, it's simulated people, scenarios, and it just helps you work through it. And complete the assignment and submit a screenshot of the completion page of your best score. Now, this is where you do a screenshot, but the assignment says submit a screenshot. So only submit a screenshot when it says to. Open and follow all the instructions. Yes, CJ Simulation is supposed to be a great resource in helping you apply all of that, because you are just full of information. And so it helps you apply that information to different settings. Case studies must be assessed through the Canvas course module. So don't go outside of it to assess it. Click on the link that's there. Case studies assessed through your NurseThink account will not be accepted without prior written approval. So make sure that you access it through the Canvas course module. Those links are there and they're working. If they're not working, let us know. The grades will transfer into the grade book. So whatever you're making, that's what you're going to get. Access is required through the Canvas course module link. Only complete the case study for the link access. So we're saying complete the case study on Bob Logan, that's what you completed on. Don't go and do something else. Screenshots must be submitted as stated in the directions. You must show up to verify its completion. Your name must show up to verify its completion. Access by other method will result in a 0 for this assignment. So if your link is not working, be sure that you are communicating that. You might need to submit a help desk ticket. Writing papers and discussion posts. The paper assignments will guide the development of the professional goals relative to the profession. So you want to select the link for the paper assignment. Now open and follow all the instructions. It tells you specifically what to do. Complete a 2-year professional career development plan. Include short-term goals, long-term goals. And then look at your rubric, as I mentioned earlier. You can grade your own assignment. When you look at your rubric, do I have citations from a professional peer-reviewed nursing journal? I do not. So how many points will you get for that? So you can actually look at your own assignment and kind of pre-see what you're gonna, the results will be. Tips for papers and discussion questions. You want to give credit. You will always want to cite your sources. Try not to get a source that's older than 5 years. You want to give rationales. What's your reasoning? What's your why for your argument in your own words? Just put your understanding and your ideas, just put it in your own words. You want to summarize key points. No copying and pasting. Summarize, paraphrase. And make sure what you're talking about is relative to the topic. You know, we're talking about bananas and oranges, and then your response is talking about, I don't know, tree branches or something. So make sure it's relevant so that you can get all your points. Taking exams, we talked about taking those exams. Those exams are timed. You only can complete them once. If you start the exam, you must complete it. In the event that you're having problems during the exam, please let me know. Do not wait to the end. Do not continue and say, well, I was just trying to figure it out on my own. That is wrong. I mean, you might do that, but it will not be a good outcome. Notify the instructor immediately. So raise your hand, because once we start exams, we usually communicate via chat. And so and it might be things going on with more than one student. So give us time. We will, and everything is time stamped. Everything is there showing we have proof that say, hey, you said you were having problems. So for the most part, it's just making sure that your computer and exam sound are mixing, that they are on the same settings. Things faculty would not do: allow a retake of the exam due to technical issues or problems or other physical or emotional issues when the majority of all questions have been answered by a student or time has run out. And at the end, you know, we do have that HESI, that specialty exam. So all of your assignments, all of your homework assignments, and all of it, no matter what course you're in, the reading assignments, ensure that you spend time with the content, because the bigger picture is you providing that best care that you can. Sitting for that NCLEX, taking it one time, sitting for that HESI and blowing it out of the water, being successful in the course. So, and all of those things, you all know, all of those things will help you add tools to your toolbox. Students have been doing really well with the HESI, have been doing really well with the HESIs here lately. There's only one attempt at the HESI. The geriatric does have 2 attempts. And then we all know that the HESI is the 11th week. There are some campuses that have their HESI that must be on campus, but whatever the guidance is or the instructions for the HESI, you'll get them. Each campus has their own specific instructions about scheduling, when you can schedule and all of that, but you'll get that coming up to that pretty much, I know, by that 10th week. Remediation is mandatory. So we do have the guide. Even if you score above 900, you still have to do an hour of remediation. So we will post this again toward the end when we get to that part. But just know that there's a specialty exam. And the same thing, you will need your ID. Must show your ID, your school badge. Even if you're not asked, just go ahead and show you, hey, I need to show my ID. Camera must be on at all times. Full face must be visible at all times. Failure to show photo ID or not to be visible at any point may result in exam or course failure. We will have a HESI review too. So it is encouraged to attend one, if not all, of the live review sessions and also review the recordings. Now, there has been, I don't think there's a book out there for the community health HESI, but remember, community is a combination of your same patient that was in the hospital, they're just coming home or they're just coming to the wherever they are at in the community. So it is your OB, it is your mid-surg, it is your peds. It's all of that information because those are the same people that were in the hospital. They're at home now, they're in the community. So are you prepared to sit for the specialty exam? What remediation could your online instructor review with you to help you prepare? Like I said, we do those HIST reviews. We will announce that. What concepts covered in homework assignments that you find challenging or difficult to understand? And the reason we ask that question is because that's probably where you need to start at first, because those are the concepts that you need just a little bit more reviewing, spend a little bit more time with. So those concepts that you kind of still find challenging or difficult to understand, that might be where your starting point should be with reviewing for the exam. And then how can a nurse maintain professionalism if they, are not part of the hospital-based system? Do the requirements for a nurse change based upon the surroundings they work in? What is a nurse's accountability, whether on or off duty? Those are some things you just need to be thinking about. Okay, that's the end of our online PowerPoint presentation. Are there any questions about any of that content that I just reviewed? Any questions? And again, just as a reminder, in the event that you have to walk away from the camera, just put a message in the chat. Let me just check my time here, y'all, because I'm in this Central Standard Time here. Let me just make sure. We're gonna take our break at the end, but just make me check my time. I wanna be a good steward of your time as well as mine. Did you see it? So we go from 6 to 7:30. So that means we'll go from 6 to 7:20. So we have about 15 more minutes left, a little bit less than that. That's because we're going to take our break at the end. So let's go ahead and look at our syllabus, our modules here. Because the other thing that we have to do is we're going to let you all get in your group so you all can just pre-plan and exchange phone numbers and look at that group assignment and just talk about it. Because most of it's just figuring out what is it that we're going to do. I know it says that we're going to assign your groups during next week, but we're gonna go ahead and get that here. Okay, so let's go to your course. Let's look at our modules. So remember, Dean Brown did post that opportunity to change. Let me go back to the announcements. To change your schedule, make sure that you're looking at what you have to do, work, life, in school, and see, what's best for you. Are these times working? Because there are, the courses are offered different times on different days. So just keep that in mind. So look at what you need to do so that you can be successful. Let me get our modules pulled up here. And let me share my screen. Let me check my chat. I get to talking. Let's see me make sure I don't have any questions. Make sure everyone, you all have posted your name and your campus in the chat. And thank you all for those of you that are having to step away. Make sure, no matter whatever it is, storm, restroom, I need to go get something to drink, whatever it is, put it in the message in the chat, you know, to me. Make sure you're putting that there. That's when the attendants, you know, administrators, once they look at the video, they're like, oh, why was that person? They can just look at the chat and see where you communicated, you know, whatever you were doing. So that is there to protect you. Okay, so let me move us out of the way here. Okay. Okay, so by now you should have completed your syllabus quiz and your technology literacy check. That's in all of your courses. So you have this professional development plan, which is due by Sunday. So again, remember I said to look at, open up each assignment. I know you all talk and you hear how things should go, but make sure you actually open the assignment up and you read the assignment details. You know, read specifically, you know, what it's saying. So get an understanding of what it's asking you to do. Include the proper file name when you're saving it, as I will just copy this right here and then fill it in with your information. So make sure you're saving it as such. And that is due Sunday. And it's APA format. Okay. So you do have week 2, you do have that discussion question. And then you do have the NCLEX questions. Remember, you can take those as many times as you like. You're downloading that PDF. And you will need to be able to log into CJCM. Let me see, I had mine pulled up here. So once you click this, it takes you on into the, let's see where my CJCM is. Maybe I don't have my CJCM. Let me log in and show you what it's like. Let's see if I can find it. So they actually have a video on how to use, say, CJCM, but let me log in here. Give me just a few minutes here. Be like me and forget what your password is. I think this is my password. No, that's not my password. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that. I need to look and see what I wrote down my password. Back to CJC, but make sure that you can log in. And I've asked you all prior to coming to make sure that you all were able to log in. But once you click that, they have like all these scenarios in there, but we have went in and picked out some community scenarios, and these are people, it's kind of like a case study, but it's in a different format. It's inside of a, let me see, what is it like compared to? Let me see, what would I compare it to? So it's simulated, and it's like bringing all that information that you know to that type of platform. It's not like a video game, but it's kind of sort of, because you have the people inside it. It's something similar to that. I don't really know what the correct word is, but it helps you to think about all the information that you know and to take care of the patient. So they have these printed scenarios up there, and it's really good. But if you can't log into CJCM, you need to submit a help desk ticket to them so that they can get you in. And I have to, once I put you on the groups, I'll find out what my password is and log into it. So the instructor will make group assignments for upcoming coursework in week 7 and 9. So we're gonna take a few minutes and arrange the groups tonight, and then let you all at least meet each other and exchange emails, phone numbers, and kind of plan. You know, it's a ways off for this information, the group assignments to be completed, but you have to start working, you know, day 1 in order to get those things completed. So week 3, You have exam 1. So next week you should be looking at attending review sessions because you got to get ready for that exam. Week 3, you have exam 1. And you do have another CJ simulation and then a case study, Healthy People 2030 assignment. Week 4, you do have another CJ sim. Week 5, you have a discussion question. You always have weekly reading, but you have a discussion question. You have NCLEX questions, and you also have another CJ sim. Then week 6, another exam. So you do need to put these things on your calendar. So in week 5, be thinking, I gotta attend a live review. I need to attend a live review, and also I need to be reviewing the recordings. And then week 7, we have a group project discussion and that the peer review activity. Week 8, we have another CJ simulation and NCLEX questions. Week 9, you have your vulnerable populations assessment assignment, and then you have the last exam. So it moves pretty quickly, you all. It moves pretty quickly. I mean, in 2 weeks, you have the first exam. Then week 10, you have NCLEX questions. And then 11 is the HESI. And then week 12 is remediation. Usually after that first exam, time just, I don't know, it's the same time, but it goes by really fast, you all. It's really, really fast. And so what we're going to do now, we only have 4 minutes left. We'll go ahead and put you all in groups. So meet each other, greet each other, and at least exchange phone numbers. And then I will also, do we get exam reviews for the exams? Yes, you get exam reviews. There will be a schedule posted for all exam reviews for all of the instructors. So you decide which one you want to go to. They're not mandatory, but they are strongly encouraged. No matter whose exam review you go to, make sure you type in your name and your campus in the chat, because it's those things that counts as attendance too. In the event that we need that information, they do have proof that you were in a review. So we'll post that for sure, probably by the weekend, for sure by the 1st of next week. Okay, so what we're doing now, we do have 3 minutes left. I'm gonna send you in a breakout room, accept the invitation. And what the purpose of being in there is to greet each other, exchange phone numbers and or emails, and just kind of talk about, whatever your challenges were with working in a group before, some things that you think would help the group move forward. After the 3 minutes, I'll close the room and then we'll be ending for tonight. Okay, and accept the invitation here. And then I'll send too around your sheet so you can remember who was actually in your group too. Okay, so accept the invitation. Let me just make sure it's kind of evened out here. There's always going to be like one group that may have one extra person or one less person because of the numbers. All right, accept the invitation and move on out. Okay, just give it a few more seconds for everyone returns. We have a few more that are still in the workout, but it calls in 23 seconds. And I wanted to say to you all, in the event that, during class, if you lose connectivity, please log back in. Just log back in each time if we lose connectivity. So the room should close in 6 seconds. We're waiting on room 1. So hopefully you all did get a chance to say hi to each other and also exchange phone numbers, but I also send the names around so that you all won't forget who's in your group. If we want to be playing early on, I think the earlier would be the better. That way you have plenty enough time to work through and get it all done as a group. Well, nice meeting you. Look forward to working with you all during this class. And you all take care. We'll see you next week.
Excuse me, I got a question.
Sure.
So the people that you put us in a group now, is that who we're gonna do the group project with?
That's correct.
Okay.
Will it be the same group every time we have a group project?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Bye. Good night.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Good night. Did you have a question? Okay. All right. I just gonna let you log out before I did.